Welcome to the first edition of our Taekwondo video series. This video will cover all of the curriculum for the white belt level of the Taekwondo Ministry program at First Baptist Kissimmee. The first thing that we learn in Taekwondo are the foundational stances. At the white belt level, there are 6 basic stances that someone will learn. The first is attention position. Attention position is with your feet together, heels and toes touching, legs straight, back tall, hands by your side. The attention position in Korean is called chariet. Chariet means attention, feet together, hands by your side. The second stance is our ready position, or in Korean, chunbi. The ready position is 1 foot wide, same positioning as attention, just with your feet apart. The way to determine that is to turn your left foot out, finding where your toe is, and then placing your heel there. That's how I know I can be 1 foot apart. And so from attention, when we say chunbi, you simply use your left foot stepping out 1 foot wide. The first active stance that we do in Taekwondo is what we call the walking stance. The walking stance follows the same width as my ready position. I simply step forward 1 step long. And so from a side view, my feet from heel to toe, there is the distance of 1 of my feet in between. The walking stance then can go into what we call the forward stance. The forward stance is twice as long with the foot still on the original line. The back foot can turn outward, upwards of 30 degrees, but no more. Back still nice and tall. In the forward position, my front knee is bent directly over my ankle. My shin is vertical. My back leg is straight. So front knee bent, back leg straight, 2 to 2.5 of your feet from heel to toe. To come back, the walking stance, ready position, and attention position. After the forward stance, the next stance that we practice is what we call the straddle stance, or the horse riding stance. The horse riding stance simply is the length of my forward stance turned to the side. Both feet are even, both knees are bent outward over my feet. Back is nice and tall. From a front view, the horse riding stance or the straddle stance. Again, 2 to 2.5 feet. So 1, 2.5 down, bending both knees. Back tall, looking forward. This is the straddle stance. The last stance that we do at the white belt level is what we simply call the fighting stance. The fighting stance is a relaxed stance, a relaxed position from which we can do some of our basic kicks. Simply putting 1 foot in front, bouncing your body, and freezing. This is a relaxed position where you can move freely to practice your various kicks and counters. It will resemble a walking stance most of the time. So to review, attention position, heel and toes together. Chunbi position, 1 foot separated, toes in line. The walking stance, 1 step forward on the same line as the ready position. The forward stance, twice as long with my front knee bent and my back leg straight. The straddle stance, feet on the same line, knees bent, toes even. And then back to forward, walking, ready position, and attention. Okay, so to demonstrate the stances, I have Zach Langer with me. We're going to show you how to walk using the basic active stances that we would use to do our strikes and our kicks and our blocks. So Zach, why don't you stand on that line, face this way, ready to dip, kunip. Chunbi, a ready position. Go ahead and put your hands behind your back. We're going to start off walking with the walking stance. So Zach's going to start with the left foot. We always use the left foot when we start in fundamentals. Notice his feet are on the same line, about the distance from 1 of his feet from heel to toe. Every time I count, Zach's just going to step forward, just like that. Ready? Very good. Now to turn in the walking stance, Zach's simply going to move his back foot over and then pivot both of his feet at the same time. Ready? Turn. Just like that. And I'll count again. Ready? Again, back foot over and turn. Very good. Now from right there, Zach's going to take his front foot and step out longer into a forward stance now. Go for that. Good. So notice the distance of the forward stance compared to the walking stance. Slide your front foot back to a walking. So the walking stance is 1 foot in between. The forward stance is 2 to 2.5 feet in between. All right, step back out. Now, every time I count, Zach's going to do the same thing he did in the walking stance, just with a longer position. Front knee bent, back leg straight. His feet are not curving or going in. They're simply following the line that they're on straight forward. Ready? Good. And so from right there, the way we turn is just like in the walking stance. Back foot over. Go ahead, Zach. Move your back foot over and pivot, just like that. All right, so take a step this way for me just a little bit, and we'll walk it back. Ready? And back foot across, and turn. Very good. Come back to ready position, and shoulder bow. Good. So the next stance that we do is what we call the horse riding stance, or the straddle stance. There are 2 ways to walk in the straddle stance. Zach, just stand right here facing them in a horse riding stance, in a straddle stance. So we have 2 ways to walk. The first way is what we call the crossover. The crossover simply means my foot the direction I'm going, so if I'm going to my right foot will always be in front. And so from right here, the crossover means I simply cross over and then step out again. Cross over and step out again. Zach, demonstrate that. Now he's looking the direction he's going. So from right there, when we say turn, in a straddle stance, you don't have to move your feet. You simply just move your focus and upper body. All right, take a few steps back. And turn. Very good. The next way that we step, and this is not as regular, is simply by turning the whole body as you step from one horse riding stance to another. Ready? Let's demonstrate that. Good. And when we turn, again, just moving the head and upper body. Ready, turn. And then take a step back. Step back to where you're going. There. Very good. Ready, attention. And bow. That's the basic application of your active stances. Walking stance, forward stance, and straddle stance at the white belt level. Now, if you have a basic understanding of your stances, we're going to go into your basic techniques, blocks and strikes. Zach's back with me, and we're going to review the 5 basic blocks for the white belt curriculum. Your 5 blocks at white belt are the low block, the high block, the middle block, the outside block, and the hammer block. Each of these blocks are demonstrated in the forward stance that we just reviewed a moment ago. And so Zach's going to help me. You can go ahead and step out, Zach, into a forward stance. Notice Zach starts with his left foot, always beginning our fundamentals with the left side. As we review the blocks, Zach's going to use whatever arm matches his front foot. So that if his left foot is in front, he'll be using his left arm. If his right foot's in front, he'll be using his right arm. At the white belt level, we want to make sure that the sides are always matching. So we're going to begin with the low block. Zach, go ahead and just use the blocking arm for right now. Notice he brings his low block at the shoulder. He's not obscuring his view. He's not down here. He's right at the shoulder. And his body is slightly turned, so he can rotate his body when he blocks. When I count, he's going to block straight down over his leg. Notice the fist stops right above the knee. He's 1 to 1.5 of his fists above his own leg. Back is nice and tall. And let's go ahead and just put your hand on your waist for right now. So tight fist at the waist. From right here, every time I count, he's going to block and then just bring it back for this drill. When we're walking up and down the floor, you would block and leave your hand. All right? So go ahead and bring it back to your shoulder and block down and back and block and back. Now, as he blocks, this opposite hand needs to be moving as well. One of the ways that we generate power in Taekwondo is the shifting of our body weight, or the push-pull. What that means is, as one hand is going out to do a block, the other hand is pulling away to create a powerful shifting of our weight. And so as the blocking hand is at the shoulder, his opposite hand is just across his body. As the blocking hand goes out, the back hand pulls back to his waist. I want to imagine almost like you're brushing something off the outside of your arm. Just don't touch your arm. So from here, when I say block, he's going to go straight down, hand to the waist, other hand to his leg. Ready? Block, and block, and back. Very good. From right here, we're going to take a step now. So go ahead and finish your block. Now, as Zach begins to step, you'll notice his hands are preparing before his foot hits the ground. Halfway through your step, you want to be at the starting place of your block. So when your foot hits the ground, your block and step can end together. All right, Zach, ready? Step. Just like that. All right, step back. One more time. Ready? And step. Very good. And come back. So that is the low block. The next block that we do is what we call the high block. Again, from the forward position, the blocking hand is going to start at the opposite hip. Go ahead. Almost as if you're pulling a sword or a lightsaber, you're going to take this opposite hand and it's going to come straight up in front of your body. Notice my fist is facing me until I pass my forehead, until I pass my line of sight. My hand's going to rotate outward with my fingers ending out. Ready? Block. And bring it back. Again, block, and back. Now the same thing with the low block where our other hand needs to be doing something. And so I'm going to bring it across my body again, this time upward. It's opposite of whatever my blocking hand is doing. And so as my blocking hand comes up on the outside, my opposite hand is pulling downward to my waist. And so they exchange. The block finishes and my hand hits my hip or comes to my hip at the same time. Ready? Block and back. Block and back. One more time. Block. Now Zach's going to demonstrate the step. As we switch, my hand on my hip is just going to come to my opposite hip. My hand that's above my head is just going to drop down. And so I should be halfway in the middle of my step, finished at the end of my step. Ready? Step. All right, step back. Let's do it again. And step. Good. Notice Zach's arm, as he's blocking, is at an angle. This is to help deflect an attack. Zach, why don't you face me with that for just a moment? Go ahead and step forward into a high block. If Zach's arm was flat, and an attack was coming down on his head, there's really nowhere for the attack to go but down. But by having his arm at an angle, it creates this deflection where it helps move the attack away from his body and his core. And so every time we do the high block, you want your wrist slightly higher than your elbow. You also want it about a fist to a fist and a half away from your forehead. Simply, if you put your fist and raise your pinky, where your pinky goes is where your fist, your hand should be. Not behind his forehead, not below his forehead, but right over his forehead at a good distance away. All right? Let's face forward again. That was the high block. Now we're going to look at the middle block. From right here, the middle block is made to block an attack that comes to our core. So Zach's going to start with his left hand on the outside of his body. Notice it's even with his ears and his nose. He's going to come around his body, blocking right in the center. Again, that rotation at the very, very end. This hand is blocking with the inside of the fist and the forearm, knocking an attack away from his body. Okay, bring it back. And block. And back. And block. Now using the opposite hand as well, when this hand comes back, the opposite hand is just in front, almost like you're pointing at the direction of your block. So go ahead and prep for me, Zach. When he blocks, he's going to pull this hand to his waist and block this arm out right in the center of his body. Ready? Block. And back. Straighten your back leg for me. And block. And back. One more time. And block. Very good. So from here, as we step, this hand doesn't drop. You're simply going to just turn it as the opposite hand prepares for its block. And so my transition should be here, so that way when I step, all I have to do is pull this hand to my waist, blocking this one out to the center. Ready to demonstrate, Zach? Go, step. Just like that. Bring it back. Let's do it again. Turn it there, and block. Go. Good, and come back. Now, the next block that we do, our fourth block, is what we call the outside block. The outside block still protects the core of my body, but I'm going to block from the opposite direction than the inside. The inside starts outward and comes in. The outside block starts inward and goes out. And so I'm going to start my hand almost like a high block, where I'm starting opposite my body. My palm is down. I'm going to rotate my arm across my body, and my fist turns at the very end. Again, stopping right below the nose in the center. All right, so demonstrate that side. Right there, and back, and block, and back. Now for my opposite hand, I'm going to be about the same place I would be in a high block. I'm just going to bring it up, and as I rotate out, this hand's pulling down right here. Ready, block, and back, block, and back, block. Good. So from right here, as Zach steps, this hand just comes in. This one starts. I'm not dropping too low. I'm just coming kind of at my waist and blocking. Notice my body is turning to help generate power. Ready? Step block. Right there. Step back. Let's do it again. And step block. Very good. And come back. Now, a modification to the outside block is actually our fifth block, and it's called the hammer block. The hammer block travels the exact same direction as the outside block. However, my fist does a different turn. From here, I'm going to start with my fist facing me. As I rotate my arm out, my fist will turn at the very end. This is a strong block using the outside edge of your fist, almost like you're hammering at an attack. And so if an attack is coming to my face, I'm using the hammer block. I'm striking with the side of my fist at the attack. It still ends in the center, right in front of my nose, with my elbow down. You don't want your elbow up and expose your ribs. So elbow down, but my fist is facing out. And so Zach, go ahead and prep for me. My fingers are in. We can go ahead and put this other hand up because it's doing the same thing as the outside block. And as I rotate, it rotates up and around and fingers out. Right here. Ready? Block. And back. Block. And back. And block. Now from here, he's going to step. And so as he steps, again, this hand just pulls in. The other hand is prepping at my hip, and it rotates outward. Ready? Step. Good. Bring it back. And step. Go. And bring it back. Good job. Ready? Attention. And bow. Those are the 5 basic blocks for the white belt curriculum for the Taekwondo Ministry.